Good morning, my name is Justine Prain. I worked on a particular project as an associate to the Energy Saving Trust. It was the LEAP project. Christoph of Marksman Consulting was also involved in this. And it was pre-Green Deal, so we were looking at the interest that local authorities had in delivering Green Deal schemes and setting them up. Christoph was focused on the financing side, we had some other colleagues focused on the bond market and how that might work, and the Energy Saving Trust looked at how you might generate demand for these and how local authorities might think about setting up some kind of strategy for long-term adoption of Green Deal. The five that we worked with: Birmingham, Newcastle, West Sussex, Haringey, Bristol. I'll give you a little bit of a quick snapshot of what we did in the project and then tell you where they've got to. So we looked at how do you get demand for any other kind of product and service, and we started to focus around the idea of consumer segmentation, which had been widely used obviously in other industries, but didn't appear from the research to have been widely used in the energy efficiency space. So we took that core idea, worked with the local authorities on what it meant, how you might adapt that to energy efficiency, some examples of different things that they might have done, where they might have used incentives, where they might have run different types of marketing campaigns, where they might have considered requirements for people to make energy efficiency a part of an extension project, for instance. So how you might start with a group of early adopters and move your way through changing the way you approach people, changing the messaging. And then we created a toolkit using the information that we gave from those five. So it's that basic idea of let's break the market down and let's start to work with that early group. And lots of the early studies showed that there was a group of up to maybe 20% of people who were interested in Green Deal. So in terms of an early adopter, early market, that's a pretty good sizable market to start working with. So in terms of the local authorities, each of those in turn looking at kind of how they would set up their Green Deal and eco schemes, then that led them down the path of needing to think about how they might procure and deliver these. So you've got Birmingham, of course, who was first out of blocks and had their delivery mechanism in place with Carillion in time for the launch of Green Deal. Newcastle followed closely and also procured their delivery partner, British Gas, which was announced mid last year. Each of these, Birmingham gave access to other councils as a part of their procurement. Newcastle worked with 8 other councils in partnership. You had West Sussex County Council, and they've got the Sussex Energy Saving Partnership, again bringing together local councils, so West Sussex, East Sussex, Prain and Hove, so you're talking about 14 different councils there, and procured Carillion as their delivery partner. You then had Bristol City Council, which has taken the approach of thinking about an energy services company, so the Bristol Energy Services Company, which would look to manage the finance and delivery of domestic, of non-domestic, of social, of private housing, and think about how district heating would play a part. And then London Borough of Haringey, actually I'm sure Russell will talk more about that, because they're very much looking at how they might take a cooperative approach. So we're thinking about how the cooperative could work with those who generate demand and with the installers who need to go and provide the services. So lots of different approaches, but clearly all of those now have invested in terms of setting up schemes to try and drive demand and deliver Green Deal and eco. And I think the other thing with these is they've used these schemes to leverage in money. It might be European funding, might be Green Deal Pioneer funding, Green Deal Communities funds, and of course eco, very much a focus on how they can get eco. So I guess just thinking about some reflections of how it's gone so far. Clearly, the kind of exercises they've been doing, bringing those partnerships together, procuring these big, long-term, scalable programs, that takes time. So as we can see, those are now, for some of those, really set up and ready to go. So I think that's a good news story. That means, of course, they haven't had a lot of time to think about how they, create the kind of marketing campaigns around Green Deal, or it's very much at the beginning of the process. I think in terms of what we've heard today, 2 things. John spoke about the fact that it's a complex offer. Christoph talked about that funding gap, so we know that eco and Green Deal don't make up the full package. So that means for some of these authorities, they've very much been looking at how they trial Green Deal. But then, of course, the big opportunity has been in these early schemes, eco. So I think if we're talking about segmenting the market, segmentation that we've seen to date has been around eco segmentation, finding people in the right postcodes, or people on benefits, or pension credits, or people with the right type of property, so hard to treat cavities. So I think in terms of some of our work, it's still highly valid. We still need to look at driving that long-term market. There's still a lot of work to be done around early adopters, but we haven't really had a chance to see that as yet. I guess would be my message from these schemes, but they're certainly well placed now to look at how they could go back and start employing some of those strategies.
Great, thank you very much, Justine.